A very good evening to one and all present, and welcome to a brand new episode of View TV by Vijay Bhumi. It's definitely, this is one of the series that is very, very close to our heart and which is expressed by Ease Students Speak. As you all know, this is a series which is, again, the reason why it's very special is because we provide a platform where youngsters can come and present their views in an open manner in on various contemporary issues that the country is facing today. So before I introduce this dynamic panel that I have before me today, I think it's very important for me to first actually set a little bit of context about what is happening and what is the topic that we're going to be talking about today. So in India, trial by media has assumed significant proportion and has significantly increased over the years. Some famous criminal cases that would have gone unpunished but for the intervention of the media include the Priyadarshini Mattu case, the Jessica Lal murder case, the Nitish Katara murder case, and many more such cases. So while we see that earlier the narrative was that how the media was being used as a conduit to expose the exploitation of the system by the rich to cover their wrongful actions, we are now seeing a shift in the change of this narrative. In the recent years, what one sees is the fact that prime time media news media is so focused on TRPs that somewhere this initial narrative of exposing the rich actually acting as a medium where there was correct display of news and facts has now been subsumed by this game of TRPs. And we see that everything is sensationalized. There is a lot of victimization that happens. At times, we see there is also an abuse of criminal laws procedure, where in ongoing matters there are evidence which are released up and out for the public to see. So today I have invited these youngsters to talk about this topic and to understand from them that what do they think about media trials in India. Is there a need to now regulate the press with whatever we are seeing today? With this, I'd like to welcome all the viewers who are joining us from different parts of the globe and the country. We would like this to be a very, very engaging session. I know a bunch of you have already discovered the chat box feature. So make sure you're asking us a lot of questions, etc., which I will make sure that I take it in our audience Q&A round with my panelists. So first, we will start with a moderated round where I will be inviting them to share their opinions on a bunch of questions that I have kept ready for them. And after that, I'm going to open the floor to pose questions to them from the audience members who have joined us very kindly today. So before I start, let me just introduce this panel that I have with me today. I have Manav and Hussain who are joining me from Bombay. They are from Billabong International School. I have Sakina and Ruth who are joining me all the way from Kuwait. So thank you so much, guys. I know you all are very busy. You have online classes, you have your other tuitions and other classes. So it's very kind of you to take out the time and be with us today. So without further ado, let me go to the first question. So, first, let me start with Manav, and I'll request you to unmute yourself. That can I ask you to share that what is your view on media trials in India?
Thank you for letting me speak. I think that trial by media is one of these burning topics which has seen a continuous uptrend from, I think, the last decade. And I actually think my overall stance on this topic will be against, because I think the public relies on the media as a primary source of information, and whatever assumptions the media portrays in front of the public makes them opinionated, and that results in an exasperating, erroneous public exuberance and mass hysteria, which later on is very disruptive to the very functioning of the judiciary and the society. And I think that creates a lot of problems if we look at it from a long-term perspective. And also, I think the tangible pros and the tangible cons of a trial by media is that the tangible cons far outweigh the tangible pros. If you look at it from a very long-term shot, then I think that I'm really against with this entire notion of trial by media. Although I do acknowledge the fact that in some instances, and Sometimes it is really helpful in spreading public awareness and in exposing certain frauds and certain cases. But I think it does more harm than good. So, with firm conviction, I speak that I think I'm against this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manav, for your initial remarks. So while we have Manav who's probably against, and like he says that he's against the excessive media trials that happen in India today, let us hear from Hussain. Hussain, what do you think about it? Are you in favor of it? Do you think there's a need to regulate it, or it should be as it is?
To summarize what Manav said, I think if we have a scale and if we have ethics over here and morals over here, I would have to extend my hand like really low to display what media trials are. And I feel media trials is the worst thing that could happen to the journalism in India. And we have a show called Sansani. So it's like that's the worst case scenario. But yeah, I too go against the topic that, I mean, not against the topic, but I stand for the motion that media trials in India are truly unjust and something that should not take place. And they just defenestrate the whole motive of journalism as if it's just some floxy, nosy nihilipilification of a thing. So yeah, that's something that I feel is very intriguing thing that is happening and that has to be stopped. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Hussain. And I must say that the views that have been echoed by Hussain as well as Manav, we ran a poll initially that do you think media is overstepping their boundaries in reporting high profile cases? And 81% of our viewers today agreed that yes, the media is overstepping their boundaries in high profile cases. So, putting that out now, I'd like to invite Ruth. What do you think? Do you lie on the same side of the spectrum, or maybe you think a little differently? What is your view on this?
Giving due respect to the role of Indian media as both entity democracy, and also the fact that freedom of the press is the heart of the social and political intercourse. I would still remain and maintain that media trials have to be approached with a bit more of caution. I feel that media should take the role of a storyteller, that is, trying to sway the readers and the listeners by creating an opinion. Traditionally, the role of media was to report the news and not to create an opinion amongst the people, which in present days have risen to more of a debating and opinion-raising platform than objective reporting. And with this, people jump to conclusions. They don't even try to learn the truth. The very way the story is told, it actually stirs the emotion towards certain predetermined notions. The public is becoming basically accustomed to the regular spectacle of pseudo trials in the news media, and this actually leads to nefarious consequences. Myself having a journalistic lineage, I would try to say that the whole system of objective journalism and objective spread of news should be brought back.
Thank you so much, Ruth. And I think, yeah, you have again made a very balanced point that while we should acknowledge, freedom of press, which we have recognized in, the various landmark cases of the Supreme Court of India and it being read into our constitutional rights, I think there is also a need for, them to hold their professional ethics and integrity in high value. I mean, you need to stay true to, what your profession is. So definitely there is some sort of deviation one observes there. Also, Ruth, if I may request you, if you could just log out and log in again because your voice is breaking a little bit. So, yeah, thank you. With that, now I'd like to invite Sakina. Sakina, so 3 people seem to be on the same side of the spectrum. What do you feel?
Okay, so first I would like to start by giving an example. So I would like to take up the example of the Priyadarshini Mittu's case. Now, for those who do not know, Priyadarshini Mittu was actually raped and killed by Santosh Singh, who was the son of an IPS officer who was posted with the Delhi police when this case was being investigated. The appeal against it kept hanging fire in the Delhi High Court for almost 6 years, as the documents could not be translated from Hindi to English. But once this case was taken up by media, Santosh Singh was convicted within a record of just 41 days. So, media has reincarnated itself as the public court. It has been the voice of the people who cannot be heard, the light to the people who cannot really see the reality. I would like to say that media is bold, it is powerful, and media trial is a necessary evil in this 21st century where violence, crime, and corruption are like at its peak.
I think I agree with you that yes, in certain cases, and in fact, I'm noticing in our chat box, we have a comment where somebody actually says that, yeah, media is forced to step in since the police and judiciary have failed to perform their duties sincerely. Absolutely right. There are cases where we have definitely seen a positive influence of trial by media, on the legal outcomes of cases where, maybe due to some sort of corruption in the system, some sort of, the fact that somebody is in a power of, is in a position of privilege. They have misused their privilege, and you actually need the fourth pillar of the Indian democracy to step in. I agree with you that I think that is something I think all of us here do recognize. Now my other question, and this will bring me to my second question, which is, I think, what we are seeing in today's context, especially what we are seeing in primetime media. And I noticed that, one of our attendees has also asked me this question, and I'd like to start with Sakina on this. That do you think that excessive instances of where, there is a lot of trial by media, especially in high profile cases, do you think that somewhere we land up in a situation where on one side press has its freedom because of freedom of press, but having said that, do you feel there are also situations where they override the right to privacy of, in the case of the victim, in the case of the accused or the witnesses? So what do you feel that, what should be done in this kind of a situation where it's freedom of press versus right to privacy? What should be given more importance? How should we, tackle with this situation in a better manner? So Sakina, let's start with you.
Okay, so my opinion would be that I feel that it depends on the victim or the witness or the accused, because it depends on them of how much of personal information are they sharing with the media. It depends on their statement that actually leads on. So even if it is an invasion of privacy, it is because of their own statements. So as citizens, we shouldn't believe everything before the court actually makes a decision. Like it's actually very said, it's said that use care before you share.
I totally agree with you. Anybody else who has a different opinion from her would like to add something?
Yeah, I would like to add something to it.
Yeah, go on, Manav.
I think like the best approach to this problem of excessive public regulation and the trial by media and whatever problems you stated would be twofold actually. First of all, I would suggest that once a case is subsidized, once a case is taken up by a court and is under further discussion, the media should stop discussing it elsewhere, because actually that is the meaning of subsidized. That is the literal meaning of subsidized, that once a court takes up a case, it is forbidden for discussion anywhere. But I see that that is not happening from a very long time. And I feel that that is one of the reasons why the media also often oversteps its limits and goes extremely into a case and then just passes the judgment all by itself. So I think that if that happens, and if the media also realizes that once a case is subsidized, then they have no authority to discuss it on their news channels and make the public opinionated, I think that that would solve a problem to a huge extent. And I think that another very good point would be if the public or the witnesses, they also raised their voice and the right to privacy was also enforced to a bit more extent. Because actually I disagree with Sakina on this, because now an individual can't help it if there is a group of reporters who is running behind them and just asking them questions, right? Then sometimes they may spill out something. And I think that that is very wrong. So I think that there should be some regulation in that field too. And I think that it should regulate their own dealings and just regulate that when something is subsidized, they can't discuss it elsewhere. I think that would tackle this problem to a huge extent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manav. Anybody else would like to add something? Anything from Hussain and Ruth on this?
Yeah, even I would like to add on to that. Actually, Sakina had mentioned that it's the issue, it's the whole issue with the victim or the witness or whatsoever, that they are the ones who actually, express. But actually, I would say that media trials are encroaching directly into the victim's privacy and a right for fair trial, whatsoever it be. Like just how the others mentioned, they they keep taunting you, they keep asking you more and more questions, and they just invade into your privacy. It's not just the suspects or the accused, but the victims and witnesses are also, they also suffer from excessive publicity. They feel that the whole act of getting into this was itself wrong. Then the case takes up a social perspective, and when this takes up a social perspective, the public interest also picks up. The news channels then further start competing with each other because they want to pave light into it in their own way. In such a rush, the case often is not even studied properly. They start running behind the victim, the accused, the witnesses, the lawyers, etc., for interviews. Basically, the media plays a separate sort of role here. They run with the hare who's in trouble, and also they hunt with the hound. So when that comes up, we cannot blame the witness or the victim for just telling the truth, or but it's the part that they are forced to do this.
Thank you so much, Ruth. That's a very well balanced opinion on the issue. Hussein, you'd like to say something?
Nothing to add on to it. I completely agree with all of the guys present over here. I just feel that under the garb of being aggressive and under the garb of showcasing the truth, I think they are actually, diverting the public from the actual truth. Like, how they say khulasa, bada khulasa and all. It's these crazy headlines and stuff. I think that due to this mentality and this ideology that what media trials have, the basic idea of news has been changed into a reality TV soap. And like all they want to do is gain TRP, and they just fight and they just heckle, and they just like what Manav said, heckling or just nabbing. That's not journalism.
Yeah.
If you want someone to speak out their truth, if you want to showcase your truth, you don't force your opinions on someone else under aggression and shouting. So excessive and biased, again, the minute media becomes biased, journalism is at risk. A biased media is an unjust media, and if this keeps going on, it's like a gigantic termite, this ideology. And if this keeps going on, it will rot to the core, and no one can save the journalism in India.
I think you're right when you say that. I think each of us would agree with you. That brings me to my next question, and I think this is a slightly more deep question about the sort of outcomes this kind of reporting is having on our society today. So I'd like to first start with Hussein on this. That do you think that media trials today are promoting instances of vigilante justice and mob lynching in our society? We have noticed in the past few years there's been a rise in the number of incidents that are happening of this nature. So do you think that this is directly proportional? Like media is playing a big role in how we are seeing things, and in a way also increasing instances of discrimination, disparity. So what do you think about it?
Um, let's just say that when we, I mean, I cannot say that, and this is obviously not the truth, that media does not physically say to spread hate and stuff, but it becomes a primary cause for it. Now, let's just take an example. I came across it and it was really imperative and beautiful in nature. Let's just say that you have a plate in front of you, and 95% of the plate is filled with oily and unhealthy and junk food, but it is very appealing to you. It's very, spices and all that chatpata thing. And on the other side of the plate, you have 5% of healthy food that actually helps you, that actually, the body needs, and actually what is good for your body. When you eat the complete plate, when we eat the food that is kept on your plate, what will have a larger impact? Will it be the junk food or the healthy food? It will be the junk food, right? Similarly, biased, aggressive, and excessive, what do you call, excessively opinionated media has that effect on our mentality. And at first it seems like, oh, it's appealing and yeah, it's for fun. But if that goes on again and again, that 95% dominates over the 5%, and we are forced to uphold that opinion that is being showcased to us. We portray what we see. So if an anchor is shouting, hurling comments, if an anchor is posting their opinion, shouting on his chair, if an anchor is saying that this person is accused of something, even when the trials and even when the actual judgment is not given out, we somewhere accept that without even questioning that. And that leads to inciting of hate. That leads to inciting of such pessimistic thoughts against that person that we tend to become hateful in nature, and we act out in a certain way as a society. So yeah, somewhere I believe that media does play a huge role in how we act, and I feel that unless and until it does not change, it would not at all lead to a change in the society.
I think I absolutely agree with you there. Anybody else would like to share their opinion on this question?
Yeah, I have something to say on this.
Yeah, go ahead, Manav.
Actually, there is this very nice quote on this, which is, "If content is fire, media is gasoline." And I think this is what has been happening for a long time. What is happening is that the media, because it wants to increase its TRP and its ratings, what it does is it invokes an instinct. It's called an over dramatization instinct. So what the media does is that it will just play truncated video clippings in front of people. It will just show them their side of story, which is actually based on their own assumptions, their misinterpretations, their own fads, not facts, their own fads and their own opinions. And because of that, because the public usually believes the media, and because media is a primary source of information for the public, we also usually believe whatever the media portrays in front of us. And because of that, I think it leads to a very visceral reaction amongst the public, and I think that really leads to this vigilante justice and all this hatred among the public. And I think that is actually very bad, because Arnab Goswami once said that whatever I say on my news channel, I present very strong opinions and you have the liberty to disagree. But what he fails to realize is that the public usually doesn't disagree; it just follows him like like sheep following its leader or whatever like that. So I think that really makes the public biased, really makes the public opinionated, and that creates a lot of problems because even the victim suffers a lot. So it's a really bad thing actually.
I think that's very well put, Manav. Thank you so much for sharing your opinion on that question with us. Sakina and Ruth, would you like to add something to the question?
Yes.
Yes.
I do not completely disagree, but then also I do not completely agree with this, because when media provides us the information, if you hate it, you ignore it. If it's positive, you engage with it. And if you do not know, then research. I would say that media doesn't deliberately try to promote this. It is us, how we take in the information, how we process the information, and how we react to it. So at the end of the day, we are responsible for our own acts. And let's take the blame instead of shifting it to the media. We should be the ones who are actually doing the research on the headlines and the statements before we actually take a big action. We need to invest in educating the people on how the fake news circulates on the social media or the news channels.
That is also
Mm,
Ruth, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, actually, from my part, I would totally agree to what Manav said, because the virtual trials that are run by the news channels without any formal permission or proper credible investigation are actually a total hamper to the nation's legal system and a violation of the media ethics. These trials investigate a lack of trust in the judiciary, police, and government machinery, and such a lack of trust is highly unethical and even it's dangerous. When it comes to this sense, whenever they feel that the judicial system is failing to provide justice, the mass of the vox populi. Just taking a second to talk about what Sakina said, we cannot take the whole blame on ourselves. There is, I mean, I accept there could be maybe a minority or not anyway the majority is going to be taking everything in the critical sense. There is a blind population that we have in our country or that we have around who would believe exactly what the media says. Not everyone, it's not that 100% of educated people that we have around. We have that kind of a population who believes the media blindly. So what happens to them is they get carried out totally by what happens, and it's those kind of people who are going to get agitated for this, and they may even try to take the law in their hands, also compelling the judiciary to punish the culprit or by contriving new ways of governance, laws, and practice. The darker side is what I feel is, without even pondering for the credibility of the trial that is conducted, the mob, the people would get so agitated that they try to make the issues even worse. So, yeah, that's kind of what I would say about this.
So I think, very well we have established in this question that, there are two perspectives that we have on this question. One is the perspective that basically how the media is inciting hatred, against like certain communities, or, in a case against a certain victim, and, using that only merely, as a tool to increase their TRPs, but also how that, this incitement of this hatred, aggression has a long lasting effect on people in society, because somewhere this sits into their mind that they also formulate the same judgment as the media is portraying to them. While the other side of the spectrum is also a very popular opinion, is that what is being reflected on the media need not necessarily just be a figment of creation of the media. It also somewhere represents the mindset of the majority, right? Because they are presenting things in and content in a way, and using it as a they want to boost their TRPs by obviously giving content that people want to listen to, right? So maybe it is that we have become such people that we like consuming such content, and we believe in these sort of partial and non-neutral views. So again, I mean, both of these perspectives exist, and this is just great food for thought for all our viewers who are joining us today. So when you go back and watch news again, I think these ideas will somewhere loom in your head, and you'll be able to form an opinion about which side of the spectrum do you lie on. So with that, I'm going to come to another question, which I also think is very important to ask. Then, like we were talking about, and Sakina mentioned the Priyadarshini Mattu case. So do you think that the narrative of the press has changed? So, we could see that back in the 90s and probably in the early 2000s, where, the press was playing a very proactive role in ensuring that justice was being done in high profile cases where they felt that the accused was meddling with the system, to what it is now, where do you think that that narrative has changed and now it's the complete opposite, where actually the media is just so consumed by the commercials and the numbers around it that they are no longer focusing on presenting the truth? So do you feel that somewhere the ethics in this profession have changed? And what is your view on it? Ruth, you said you come from a family of journalists, so I will start with you. What do you think? Has the narrative changed? Has mainstream media changed the way it looks at its profession? What do you think?
Actually, obviously, the media involvement in a variety of cases, I feel that the authenticity and credibility of the media trials has significantly lowered. Every institution is liable to be abused, I accept, and every liberty, if left unbridled, it has a tendency to become a license which would lead to disorder and anarchy. This is a threshold on which we are standing today. Television channels, they are in a bid to increase their TRP ratings. They are resorting to sensationalized journalism, and they have a view to earn a competitive edge over the others. This is tailored and colored by the ideological changes, like choices as well as various ownership character of the medium. Unlike in the past, the media houses are now commercially and ideologically aligned. In earlier times, probably the Indian media was led more by professionalism and less by profit. Those who had minimum corporate interests, they often like they owned a large number of media houses. But now TRP is basically the mirage of the total TV viewership. In a mad rush for chasing behind, I mean, just chasing TRPs, media trials are totally inculcating a lot of sensationalization. Actually.
Thank you so much, Ruth. Anybody else would like to chip in into that question?
Yeah, actually, I agree that the narrative has changed. Media needs to act as a watchdog and shows the society whatever is happening around. And it also acts like a platform for the voice of the society. But then nowadays, even the media has been doing things for their salaries and TRPs. And this is let's take the example of the very famous Jessica Lal's case. Okay, so in that case, the thing was that they had to expose the rich. Now exposing the rich also isn't a very easy task. In Jessica Lal's case, we had two heroes. First, the gutsy media, which played an essential role in walking the nation's conscience, and the second was Miss Sabrina Lal. Now Miss Sabrina Lal was actually the sibling of Jessica Lal. Now, during this fight against the injustice, she lost her sister, she lost her mother, and she lost her father. So it is not easy to fight against those who are rich and those who are powerful and those who are associated with a political party in power. Now, coming to TRPs, well, we as viewers, we engage more with the news that has an extra element. In Hindi, which we say a bit of masala. So if the news channels find that the public is more interested in that, then they will provide us that. They will provide us the masala. So we as viewers, we should personally research about it. We should know the difference between the fabricated news and the real news.
Thank you. Yeah, Manav, go on.
Yeah. First of all, like I think this is not a yes or no question. Like we can either say that the media is completely biased, and we can either say that the media is not biased at all. I think like there have been certain cases which have just like increased the respect of the media in front of everybody, in which they actually provided justice to the innocent. And then there have been some cases in which the media misjudged the entire situation, and that caused a lot of chaos. So I think, ma'am, and this is not something which we can just be for or against. I think, but I do agree to this fact that the narrative has changed because the media has been focusing more on their TRP ratings and their earnings instead of providing the real story to the public. But ma'am, as Sakina said, that it should be on the public to actually differentiate between the fabricated news and the real news. And I don't really think that's possible, because when the public relies on media as a primary source of information, then how is it that a common man can distinguish between what is fabricated and what is real? Because if one media channel starts putting that masala on things, then all the others will follow, because all the others will want to increase their TRP. So I think, ma'am, whatever changes we need to see in the media, none of those can actually be enforced by the general public, because it is the media that needs to be regulated. It is the media that needs to portray the real picture in front of us to actually make some change happen, because it's not the fault of the public. The common man will believe whatever he is taught, whatever he is shown. And I think, but it is the responsibility of the people, of the professionals, to actually tell us the real story. So I don't see how we can do anything to it. We can only enforce certain things, but I think the major regulation should come from the side of the media, not us. So I think that is what I would like to say.
Thank you, Manav. So that's Manav spinning the responsibility on the media for making sure that they practice their profession more responsibly, because people are relying on them for correct portrayal of information, and they don't have the resources to be able to verify the information, and like the way the media would have access to information. Hussein, would you like to add something to this?
I would agree upon what Manas said because see, media has gone in our country. Media has gone from being banned and being punished for exposing the truth during the be it the British era or the recent cases, um, to being promoted for not exposing the truth. Media is somewhere commercialized. Like you, we have used the word masala a lot over here. I think they are doing it for in order to gain TRP and to commercialize. It's like a business. But what we are forgetting over here is that the main role of journalism and media is to showcase the truth so that we can be a reliable source and we can open the eyes of the people around us. Be it like since like I think for centuries, literature, art, and any kind of medium that motivates us and that influences us has a great impact. That motivation and that influence lies within media. And if that rots and if that changes, the whole system collapses. So I genuinely feel that even though it has changed, it has the ability to relax, it has the ability to change. But again, it's not a piece of cake. It has to be done through strict measures. And I do feel that media is very like it's thoroughly responsible for what opinions we form. And I think Sakina said that we are responsible for our own opinions. But if we don't have opinions, whom do we rely on? In order to gain opinion, need to hear someone's opinion first, right? And if you don't know in particular situations what right or what wrong is, how can you gain an opinion? So I think that's the role of media. That's the imperative role of media and how it's misusing it. Also, one thing that I would like to say, I think that it's not related to the topic, but I feel like it has to be stated. Somewhere I feel that the media right now is either afraid or it is either greedy. And in both the cases, it is failing to showcase the truth. And if it is either afraid or greedy, the people that are subjected to the media are not in good hands. That's what I feel, and that's why I think that media trials have to be changed.
Thank you so much. So here there is Hussein who's emphasizing the imperative duty of the media, which is to educate the population. And yes, to an extent, I agree with you, because see, we cannot assume that in a large country like ours, which is so diverse, everybody has access to information like each of us do, right? So you're catering to all kinds of people, and there might be people who are literate, there might be people who are illiterate, and it's very 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 easy for people who don't have access to information and who are solely relying on the media to easily get swayed to the wrong side because of what's being portrayed in mainstream media, right? So definitely yes, there is a need for the media to reconsider its code of conduct, and probably review it. So before I end this engaging session that I have today, I think we definitely have to have this conversation that, while we all agree that, somewhere the media is now overstepping its boundaries. So then the moot question today is that how do we rectify this problem, and what is the way forward for us? So I'm opening it up to all four of you. Whoever would like to go first, please feel free.
You guys, should I go first?
So feel free, Manav, go ahead.
Yeah. So, ma'am, like as I stated before, that one of the solutions is that once a case is subsidized, the media cannot discuss it. I think, ma'am, that will help a lot because, as we are seeing, I'm just invoking an example of the Ria Chakrabarti case. I mean, even though like the investigations are going on, ma'am, every day we see that the news channels are just blatantly stating stuff about her and just condemning her and just obliterating her reputation in front of the society, even though those are all based on assumptions and not facts. So I think, ma'am, one of the solutions is this. The second solution, which actually the Press Council of India, the board, the central body, it actually released a sort of regulation in 2017, which actually was focused on reducing the or limiting this impact of media and this freedom of media. Because I read all the regulations and all those were somehow or the other related to reducing the freedom of media of just blatantly stating in front of the entire population that one is guilty and one is not. So I think, ma'am, another major role could be played by the Press Council of India, because that is the central body and that is actually responsible for all the regulations. And about the right to privacy, which is being violated by the media and because of the trials, I think that is something which should be dealt by the general public. Like, I think the public needs to raise its voice in some way or the other and fight for its rights, because the media won't stop until we take actions. So I think that's how we should proceed. And you are inaudible.
Sorry, I forgot to mute myself. So I said, what you're saying is absolutely right, and that seems like a logical way of moving forward. Anybody else would like to add something to, what your ideas on how we can solve this problem and how we can ensure a more neutral thing? Yeah, Sakina, go ahead.
Yeah, so I agree with Manav. I do agree with Manav, but then even though the press council is the council is formed, and we hope that the recently the recently formulated guidelines, we hope that they follow them. But then I feel that even the public should be educated. Like I said before, they should be educated about, like, to differentiate between the fabricated and the real news. That would be one thing. And yeah, pretty much everything that Manav said, I do agree with him. I don't disagree.
So we have Sakina, who feels that there is a need for the consumer to get educated so that they are consuming content in a better manner. What about you, Ruth and Hussein? Any closing remarks from your end?
Yeah,
Ruth, go on.
yeah, I accept to both as what Sakina said as well as what Manav said. I agree to both. I would like to say that media has always been the voice of the thousands, and it is through this platform everything is like, at least a majority of the news and what the happenings around the world is known to the common man. And I would like to take it up. A drop of ink that is dropped down from the journalist's pen is often more powerful than a bullet from the soldier's gun. A lot of caution should be exercised when media indulges into sensitive issues, just to increase the TRP ratings. Adding a lot of masala into the news and into the, I mean, just faking out a lot of things could not be accepted, whatsoever the reason or whatsoever justification we give to that. And further, media trials, yeah, I accept it has helped in revoking public opinion and thereby justice in many cases, right from Jessica Lal to Nirbhaya and even now to Sushant Singh. And many times there are media trials that have lowered the pursuit. But the problem is when they lower their standards and they feel that it's just the business motive that is more important, it ruins many individuals, their families, and that is what is to be curbed. Instead of efforts to sensationalize the issues or running behind TRP ratings, they should try their best to adhere to their role of objective reporting. And this would bring the public the plain truth, as simple as it is. And instead of views or opinions, they should always be conscious to their unique ability to mold the public opinion and exercise it with intense sincerity. And after all, that's what we need. We just don't want a lot of masala to be brought on our plate, because it's just, that's what I feel.
Thank you so much, Ruth. Hussein, you'd like to add something to that?
Yes. 3 simple words: follow the truth. Speak the truth, let the truth be out, so that ignorance is just vanished from the society. It's ignorance is something that is deep rooted right now, and only the truth can be an effective act against it. We could always run around for again, we could always run in the direction of money, and we could always just pursue our passions and dreams. But unless and until we know the truth, and unless and until we showcase the truth, nothing bad that is going on will change. So I feel that media has to showcase the truth. It's high time now, and if this does not change, I don't know what will happen. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Hussein. So, if I had to, sum up this conversation today, I think this is what the youth of the country wants. That where they recognize the fact that yes, there is freedom of press, which is recognized by the Constitution. At the same time, they also very strongly feel that there is excessive intervention by the media, and where it does affect the legal outcomes of cases, where it does affect the public mindset as well, against the victim, against the witnesses, against the accused. And somewhere it leads to a situation where there are already preconceived notions, which we may believe it or not, but well, if we were to think about it, it may also, those preconceived notions will also enter into the institutions that are deciding the matter. Because after all, there are human beings who decide these matters. So yes, they definitely feel that there is excessive intervention by the media. They definitely feel that there is a need for the media to revisit the rules of conduct of their profession. Probably there is a need for a better implementation by the Press Council of India when they lay down what the journalistic conduct is supposed to be. There needs to be better enforcement. There needs to be better implementation of those rules as well. And more importantly, I think we have also discovered today that there is a need for all of us to also introspect on what kind of content are we consuming. Are we actually, rather than just pinning the blame on them, maybe we are guilty that we subscribe to this kind of content. So maybe there is a need for us to relook our perspective on various issues. So I think this is what the country, the youth of our country feels. With this, I'd like to thank each and every one of my panelists. Manav joining us from Siliguri Don Bosco School, Sakina and Ruth joining us from the India Learners Own Academy, Kuwait, and Hussein joining us from the Billabong High International School. Thank you very much, guys. I think a pat on the back to each of you for putting forth your points very confidently and in a very crisp and clear manner. I'm sure you've given a lot of food for thought to all our viewers who have taken out the time and join us today very kindly for this session. I hope all our viewers have enjoyed today's session, and I really hope that all of you do join us. We hold the Express with Ease Student Speak sessions on a fortnightly basis where we pick up contemporary issues and we invite students to share their views on these contemporary issues. With this is me, Kritika Padode Bhandari, signing off. We'll see you again on a brand new episode of Express with Ease Student Speak on View TV by Vijay Bhumi. Please do like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is View TV by Vijay Bhumi. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you guys for taking out the time for being with us. You guys were a fab panel. See you guys very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.